creating custom Pokemon for you! Welcome back, everyone, to the show where we select lucky commenters to spin a series of random wheels that give us factors for a Pokemon that we then create just for you. It's gonna be a super fun episode today, y'all. We have 4 amazing custom Pokemon that I know you're gonna love, but before we get started, I have to take a second to just say thank you because wow! This series on the channel has been receiving so much support recently, it's absolutely insane and better than anything I could have ever even dreamed. A lot of y'all probably don't know this, but I used to make TikToks for a really long time before switching to YouTube, and the reason I never switched for that period of time was because I never felt like my content would be good enough for this platform. YouTube always felt like the big leagues of content creation, and I just never pictured myself making it work over here, especially with the custom Pokemon series, which is super niche and very random, kind of wacky, and I just never thought it would work, but y'all have proven me wrong in the best way. I never thought I would hit a 250,000 subs, especially this fast, and it is just so insane, and I know it's only possible because of all of you, so seriously, thank y'all so much. And before we get started with today's episode, I did just want to remind you of a couple things. First off, if you end up enjoying today's episode, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you want a custom Pokemon for yourself, all you have to do is leave a comment under this video, because I'll be randomly selecting people from this video's comments for the next episode. It's just the most fair that way, everybody has an equal chance, but it also makes it way more important to subscribe with the notification bell turned on, because you could get a custom Pokemon and never even know it if you miss the episode, which would be an absolute tragedy. Don't let it happen to you. Subscribe now, and without further ado, let's get into it. And today's first Pokemon will be for Bebe Kong. Glad you found the channel. Hope you stick around a while. So alright, Bebe, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular. Now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve. You can get 1, 2, 0, or the special split evolution, and you got 1, which makes you a 2-stage evolution line. Now let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first type is going to be the flying type. That's good. I believe that is the rarest type in our entire region. And flying poison type. That is very interesting. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X factor, and you do a signature move. Cool. In the medieval times of the Pokemon universe, there lived a creature that was seen as a terrible omen. Your Pokemon is Buzzant, the disease Pokemon. These Pokemon were naturally attracted to sicknesses and could often be found outside of hospitals and following around plague doctors. And similarly to Absol, a Pokemon that's known to show up right before disasters, these Pokemon are often blamed for the illnesses that they follow, even though just like Absol, they aren't the cause. Now this Pokemon has a pretty weird backstory, but it's got an even weirder evolution method. Because in order for Buzzant to evolve, it has to witness the opponent faint from poison damage, which would cause it to evolve into Grimazos, the Soul Stealer Pokemon. These Pokemon are known for showing up right before extremely tragic events. However, unlike their pre-evolutions, it's actually unknown whether these Pokemon cause the tragic events or if they naturally follow them. But either way, if you see one, it's not good. Its signature move is called Final Throw, and while it only deals 65 poison damage, if it faints the opponent, the user is restored to full HP. And that's gonna do it for today's first Pokemon. Overall, this one was super good for our region because we need more flying types and we need more poison types, and this did both. And I also really like the mysterious element of this Pokemon where you don't really know if it's evil or not. You can kind of infer, but the mystery is pretty cool. This one was drawn by Le Petit Art on Instagram, so make sure to go check him out. And for the shiny, I went with this dark green color because I thought it looked very poisonous. But now let's get into the second Pokemon. And this one will be for Kelly X. Glad you like the storytelling. So alright, Kelly, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular. Nothing wrong with that. Now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you are going to get 2, which makes you a full 3-stage evolution line. Now let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first type is the water type. That is the most common type in real Pokemon, but it's actually pretty rare in our region, and you are actually pure water type because your second type was none. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X factor, and you do a new mechanic. Interesting. Some people across the Pokemon world believe that Atlantis was at one point a real place, and they point to this Pokemon as evidence for why. Your Pokemon is Squire, the equipment Pokemon. These Pokemon are known for searching the bottom of the sea floor for anything that they can use in their inventions. What are those inventions, you ask? You'll see in a second. At level 22, it would evolve into Quatic. These Pokemon are the stuff of legends because many people believe they were soldiers in Poseidon's army. Now, before we reveal this Pokemon's third evolution, let's quickly go over its new mechanic. So this Pokemon's new mechanic starts with a signature move called Armor Up, which is a Steel-type status move. Upon activation, your Pokemon would enter its armored form, gaining defense and special defense, but losing speed. And not only does this change your Pokemon's appearance, but it also changes its typing to the much stronger Water Steel type. And just like the last Pokemon, this Pokemon also has a unique evolution method, because in order for Quatic to evolve, it would have to defeat 5 enemies while in its armored form, at which point it would evolve into Gillian, an unstoppable aquatic warrior whose powers rival that of the sea god himself. And that's gonna do it for today's second Pokemon. I absolutely love this one. The idea of it being an ancient Atlantean warrior who armors itself up for battle is just so sick, and it turned out great. This one was drawn by Moo Moo Milk on Instagram, so make sure to go check them out. And for the shiny, I went with this brown color to kind of have the theme where this is what they would look like if they lived on land instead of in the ocean. And I also thought it would be cool if while they're shiny, if they enter their armored form, their armor is actually silver instead of gold. I thought that'd be pretty sick. But now let's get into the third Pokemon. And this one will be for CF Smiley. Thanks for checking out the longer form video. So alright, Smiley, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be a Pseudo-legendary. That's super rare. Awesome. Now, every Pseudo-legendary ever made has been a 3-stage evolution line, but we do still spin this wheel where you can get a split evolution or less than 3, but you got the standard 3-stage. Now, let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first type is going to be the Dark type. That is very cool, especially for a Pseudo-legendary. And Dark Cosmic type, that is awesome. That's our fan-made type for a Pseudo-legendary. That is sick. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X-Factor, and you have a Mega Evolution. You are getting crazy RNG. This Pokemon is insane. It's not even made yet, but it's insane. Welcome aboard the SS Minior, the pride of the starry sky. And allow me to introduce our favorite crew member, Bebe, the blind Pokemon. That's right, these Pokemon are actually completely blind and use some sort of cosmic aura to detect what's around it. This makes Bebe particularly good at detecting and tracking down other cosmic types, which makes it very useful to the crew of the Minior while on planetary mission. At level 30, it would evolve into Ray Wolf. Upon evolving, this Pokemon gained the ability to fly through space and can often be seen following around outside of passing spaceships, which is sort of the cosmic equivalent of a dog chasing after a car. Upon reaching level 52, it would evolve into Magna Wolf. These Pokemon possess extremely unstable cosmic energy that courses through their body, making them very aggressive and protective, with its main battle technique being using its cosmic energy to pull enemies close before ripping them to shreds. Now, this Pokemon originally didn't have a Mega Evolution, and it was actually a tragic event that led to its final transformation. As one day, the SS Minior was on its normal course when a black hole opened up, swallowing the entire ship and the crew. And with the once legendary ship now gone forever, many wondered what had happened to their iconic companion. Well, for better or for worse, the Pokemon survived, but was transformed by the power of the black hole, turning it into Mega Magna Wolf. Somehow absorbing and controlling the energy of a black hole has left this Pokemon nearly unstoppable, as it now eternally searches for its lost friends, vowing to one day find them. And that's gonna do it for today's third Pokemon. Again, we have a crazy cosmic type for our region. It feels like every time that type comes up, we get to make something amazing, and this is no different. Like, seriously, this might be my favorite design of the entire series, which is saying a lot. It was drawn by Seru Bell on Instagram, so make sure to go check them out. This is actually the first design they've made for the series, and it's off to a great start. And for the shinies, I went with this red color because I thought it looked really good. But now let's get into the Patreon Pokemon. If you didn't know, I do have a Patreon, and if you become a member, link in bio, you can get on this wheel that we're spinning at the end of every episode to see who gets the last Pokemon. Let's go ahead and spin it right now to see who is getting the Patreon Pokemon, and it is Lion Cub. Congratulations, but also a big thank you to all the other Patreons. Thank you for your support, and better luck next time. So alright, Lion, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular. Still absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you are going to get 0, which actually makes you a basic Pokemon. Now let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first type is the electric type. That is cool. I do love making electric types. An electric normal type. That is pretty weird. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and none this time. When thinking about a sloth, the first thing that comes to mind is how slow-moving they are. Because not only is that true in real life, but also in the Pokemon games, you have Pokemon like Slacking who are so slow they miss out on entire turns. But what if there was a sloth Pokemon that was so fast that it forever changed people's perspective? Your Pokemon is Arborbolt, the pure speed Pokemon. This Pokemon makes all the other sloth Pokemon super jealous as it's able to run around at extreme speed. How extreme, you ask? Well, it has the staggering speed stat of 90? Yeah, as it turns out, being the fastest sloth alive means that your speed is sort of average compared to all other Pokemon. But hey, that doesn't stop this Pokemon from moving around at amazingly normal speed, attacking foes with moves so slightly quick that they kinda see it coming, but not really, and don't have enough time to get out of the way. A Pokemon so incredibly above average that most enemies would prefer not to stand in its way, because it would be pretty inconvenient. And that's gonna do it for today's fourth Pokemon. This one is super wacky, but I've had this idea for a while where it's like an electric type sloth that looks like it's moving super fast, but it's kind of just normal. But again, when you compare it to the other sloth Pokemon, it's like super fast. I just picture like all these little sloth Pokemon looking up to this thing. It's like, wow, he's so quick, even though again, it's like average. This one was also drawn by Moo Moo Milk on Instagram, so really make sure to go check him out. And for the shiny, we went with a reference to the Flash to make it extra funny. That's gonna do it for today's episode, y'all. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe before you go, and if you want to watch more episodes, you can find a bunch of them in the playlist. I'll see y'all in the next episode, but until then, peace.